Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. Black history is Moors history, and that's a fact. That's a fact. So we're going to get into it tonight, simply because this story has to be told. And anything I discuss on this topic, you can go and look it up yourself. So let's get started, right? The Moors coming out of North Africa. The Moors coming from North Africa to the Iberian Peninsula conquered Europe, including Rome, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, all throughout Europe, right? Now, while the Moors were ruling in Spain, Catholicism was starting to grow. Now, one thing you have to remember, the Moors civilized Europe, gave Europe its knowledge, its culture, its science, its mathematics, right? So that means that the Caucasians or white people or Anglo-Saxons or whatever term you want to use, right? The Moors were their teachers. The Moors were their guides. The Moors were the instructors, builders. The Moors were the confidants, the philosophers, the counselors. All right. But then something happened when King Ferdinand and Isabella became in charge. What happened was the Catholic religion saw the Moors, which was Muslims, and the Jews as heretics. And so when the Moors fell in 1492 and Granada in 1493, they ordered the Muslims, the Moors and the Jews, they wanted them all out of Spain. And really, so they wanted them all out of Spain or convert to Christianity. But the treating of the Moors was so harsh, they were burning the Moors. They were hanging the Moors. If you were Moor and you didn't convert, they killed you. If you were Moor and you converted to Christianity, they spared some, but they killed most. Because at that time, if you could tell the Moors, because the Moors look just like black people today. If you had dark skin, if you was a black person, it was likely they were going to kill you. So a lot of Moors left Spain for survival. Now, check this out. The Moors' influence went all the way to Mexico. And I'm going to read something on that before this is over with. But the Moors touched all the way to Mexico. Now, what was part of Mexico? California, Texas, right? But especially Texas. Because that influence, before Tejas became Texas, it was part of Mexico. It was called, Tejas means friendly, And so the Moors' influence reached all the way to Texas. Now, what what Queen Isabella and Ferdinand did to defeat the Moors, because their army wasn't large enough. They had started getting troops from different parts of. Some came out of the Aztecs. Some troops came from different parts to get enough people to defeat the Moors. Now, once the Moors was defeated, right, and the Moors left Spain. Some went to Africa, some came to the Americas, some went deep in Europe and became part of the king's courts all over Europe. That's why you would see in some of these movies, you would see a black person in the king's guard or the army. Those were your Moors. Now, the Moors wasn't peasants, meaning they wasn't with the commoners or the laymen's with the population of Europe. They held some type of position. If you were female, you was with the queen and you was with her entourage. A majority of the Muslim or the Moors men, they were in the guard, King's Guard, soldiers, army, and whatnot. Now, what happened after that was the people started turning on what didn't look like them, meaning the Anglo, the white people at that time was turning on anything that was a Moor, that was black. And they started taking their property. But they get the treatment of how they treated the Moors was through the Inquisition. When they was killing the Moors, the church made it okay. Made it seem as if you was doing God's will. So when the Europeans left and started traveling to the Americas, wherever they saw any indigenous people that looked like Moors, they felt they had the right to torture them and take their lands. Because the practice was already going on before they got to the Americas. They was practicing that in Spain and Portugal and other places on treating heavy melanated people with disdain. It was already going on. Because that's why the slaves in America was doing all the building and building the White House and creating the almanac, and that came out of the knowledge of the Moors, that the Europeans already knew that they can do it because they saw how the Moors built up Rome, Spain, Portugal, and Europe. Right? So they were like, well, so we're gonna, two things. One, Europe was competing with each other, the French, English, the Scottish. So they enslaved the Moors to help them compete against their fellow European brothers, for one, and to do a job or works that they didn't know how to do themselves. So the Moors had to do all of that, right? So I'm saying this to say that this was what went on in slavery time and what's going on now. It's been going on since the Inquisition. And the Inquisition hasn't stopped. That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm going to show you all this real quick. I told you I was going to give you this. Check this out. This is the Moors. When the definition, hold on. Wait, before I get to that, let me see if I got this real quick. Okay, let me show y'all something. So we can know who we're talking about. Okay. I'm going to just read some and I'll go to the other one. The Spanish occupation by the Moors began in 711 AD when an African army under their leader Tariq ibn Ziyad crossed the Strait of Gibraltar from northern Africa and invaded the Iberian Peninsula. A European scholar sympathetic to the Spaniards remembered the conquest in this way. The reins of their Moors' horses were as fire, their faces black as pitch, their eyes shone like burning candles, their horses were swift as leopards, and the riders fiercer than a wolf in a sheepfold at night. The noble Goths, the German rulers of Spain to whom Roderick belonged, were broken in an hour, quicker than tongue can tell. Oh, luckless Spain, right? The Moors and Portugal, global expansion and golden age of the Moor. Okay, the Moors who ruled Spain for 800 years introduced new scientific techniques to Europe, such as an astrolabe, a device for measuring the position of the stars and planets. Scientific progress in astronomy, chemistry, physics, mathematics, geography, and philosophy flourished in Moorish Spain. I can go on and on and on. But the point I'm trying to get at is this one. Mexico's hidden Arabic heritage, because it's telling you what the Moors looked like, right? And what they did. Now let me show you how the Moors ruled, touched all the way to Mexico, right? And at that time, Texas was a part of Mexico. Look, modern day Mexico was formed by the mixture of Spanish and indigenous cultures, right? Major culture events such as the Day of the Dead or religious figures such as the Virgin of Guadalupe have roots in both Spanish, excuse me. Okay, wait. Major culture events such as the Day of the Dead or religious figures such as the Virgin of Guadalupe have roots in both Spanish Catholicism and Aztec beliefs. Yet Mexico's Arabic heritage, which is still alive in the customs and language of the country, is often ignored. Here's our guide to the hidden influence on daily life in Mexico. Mexico's Arabic heritage can be traced back to the Moors, the North African Muslims who invaded Spain in 711 and ruled for almost 800 years. The Moors had a dramatic and long-lasting impact on the Iberian Peninsula, introducing scientific, mathematics, philosophy concepts that are still used today. Their influence on the Spanish language was also profound. Approximately 4,000 Spanish words are Arabic in origin, or 8% of the Spanish dictionary. This includes everyday words such as jabin, which is soap, araz, A-R-R-O-Z, arroz, which is rice, and alcalade, which is mare. Even the common Spanish expression hola, which means hopefully in English, descends from the Arabic expression inshallah, which literally translates as should God will it. Of course, the Spanish conquerors carried this influence across the Atlantic when they launched their campaign against the Aztec Empire in 1519. Even Mexico's second largest city, Guadalajara, has an Arabic name meaning Valley of Stones. Right. So, y'all check that out. The Moors was everywhere, and we're going to do a part 2 on this. But what I'm saying is, some of you that's living in Texas, Mexico, all over, your ancestors was Moors. We are.